when I was working in Regina and she was at the competing mall, and only Holly would come and befriend her competitor. I don't know if it was to get an edge on me or not. I don't know what.
I mean, Holly was a very direct, no BS type of person.
Calls them as she sees them, but she's there for you in a heartbeat kind of friend.
She was extremely soft on the inside. And maybe she didn't show that to everybody, but she sure showed it to her friends in spades.
Despite the horrible hand Holly was dealt health-wise, she was such a strong person that you'd never know unless you were told.
She was so amazing in terms of wanting to know what inspires you. So as a boss, that is incredible to find.
She was always such an authentic person. I think that's what appealed to me the most about Holly, because what you see was what you got.
When you look at her, she's kind of maybe shy at first and kind of rough around the edges and hard on the outside. But the more you get to know her and the more you talk to her and just you kind of peel back those layers, and it's just like me, and that's why I think we clicked so easily, because once you got to that middle part, it was just like nothing but love.
She measured her life in passing moments of chance and challenge, of setbacks, trials, and triumphs. And she measured it in friendships and loves, both won and lost. Some moments seem to flash past in an instant and are gone. Still others lingered, have always been, will always be with us. These are some of the moments we all shared with my wife, Holly Spence.
The first thing I think of when I think of Holly is a good friend. Honest, say it like it is. Like I say, she showed up, she was passionate. I love that passion about her. In anything, politics, corporate life, whatever you guys were doing during the day, whatever you were shooting, she was passionate about, her vacations, traveling. She was always excited about everything, I think. I think that's when I think of her, I think about that, her get up and go.
I was so humbled that she loved my kids. And I was so proud that she loved my kids and that Cassidy had this confidant that she could go to and talk to, things that she couldn't ever ask or tell me or her dad. And so I always respected that Holly was always there. She actually texted me one time and asked my permission if it was okay that she was communicating with Cassidy on a regular basis, which set me back. And I was I was humbled that she would ask me that question, and so proud that she would ask and that she was my daughter's friend. She wasn't just an aunt, she was a friend.
A person and a rower probably a lot of that goes hand in glove. I mean, what you see as a person manifests itself to a great extent in their athletics, and in our case, in rowing. And that's the way she rowed. I mean, she put everything she had into a training session, into a race. I think the people that she rowed with would certainly back me up on that. Holly never backed off. She didn't have a third gear. She was always in fourth or fifth or sixth gear and going flat out.
I remember Bob Allard and Rob Curry and Mo Bunden, Liz, Holly, Therese. I mean, all of us would staff these bingos and hate every minute of it. I mean, there was no real easy job. You selling these tickets, these lottery tickets, the Nevada, is it? Yeah, the Nevada tickets. Or you're going around emptying ashtrays and blah, blah. It was disgusting work. But once again, it was for a good cause.
Holly and I rowed together, and we were rowing partners in the double. And we rowed together from about 1992 to 1997. And probably the highlight for us was when we went to the World Master Games in Brisbane, Australia, We went to row the double, and we actually rowed with two people from the Saskatoon Rowing Club, Bruce Acton and Melanie Elliott, and they allowed us to row a quad together, even though there was one male and three females, so we had a lot of fun with that. With masters rowing, they allow mixed quads. And I guess they allowed us because it was three female rowers and one male. I'm not sure if they would have allowed three males and one female rower in the quad. And because we came all the way from Canada, I guess they were allowing us to do that.
The thing I think that impressed me most about her was her passion for the customer and for the player that was embedded in her team. And it was unique in a way because there were really few of us at BCLC towards the end of our tenure that had ever worked in the gaming business. You had all these people that came in with marketing skills and research skills and management skills, but they never really spent any time in a facility. And Holly and I were in the industry from the ground up. People like Holly and Daryl and Rhonda Garvey, we actually were out there in the smoke and rubbing shoulders with the player, and she always had that ability to bring things back to what would this be like for the player. And she kind of understood what players would respond to, and that she didn't get that from a marketing book. She got that from getting their psyche.
Well, I think the passion could turn into not suffering fools lightly, which would probably be the Achilles heel. I'd sometimes have to calm down some situations that would brew up because of Holly's passion about things, but it's always better to pull the reins in than have to kick somebody, and Holly was never someone you had to kick. You had to hold the reins back, if anything, and she was just a great person to work with at that time for a new business starting up.
I bet everyone who's ever worked for Holly or with Holly, whether she was a client or a colleague, I have a feeling that all of those people have probably done really well in their careers, because Holly had a way of empowering the people around her. She didn't micromanage. She trusted the people around her, really let them do their jobs, and elevated them, was there when you needed her. But even from that advertising agency and client relationship, she trusted us to do the jobs we were hired for, and together we would make every project the best it could be.
She knew that tourism was my passion. So BCLC didn't have a big tourism program at the time, and when she was given the opportunity to explore what each employee wanted, she kind of just came to me and said, "What's your passion? What do you want to do in this company?" And I've never to this day, like I've been working 25 years probably, I've never to this day had a boss ask me that. So because of her, the tourism, I was able to explore tourism, and she's the person who actually opened up the world to me.
Holly was a tough client, and I appreciated so much that honesty that she brought to the table. And out of that business relationship came a personal friendship, of which I am very grateful.
She was an amazing boss. I mean, I've had challenges working with women in the past, especially in senior positions, but with Holly, she became my mentor so fast, so quickly. She was always so there and present, and I respected her because she knew her stuff. She really knew how to market casinos, and that's what we were there for, and so every day was a learning experience with Holly, and I never appreciated having such a great mentor until I met her.
She had a very strong sense of right and wrong, which was really admirable. I liked that a lot. She was fun. We didn't even have she had such a great sense of fun and adventure and wanting to explore things. And when she decided we were going to have those wine nights, they were wonderful. And she turned them into fun, and we ended up laughing and all night long. We wouldn't go anywhere without Holly laughing. And especially when she found something she liked, like food, and she liked to play. Like she had a ability to be very expressive. And when she loved food, whoa, it was like, I got to try that. It was good.
Just that we were an unlikely duo right from the start. There was a 14-year age difference. She was an athlete. I was a cheerleader. She was fierce about everything that she believed in. And she was a hell of a cook, and I'm not a cook. But she did try and teach me every time we got together. Her mission was to give me a new recipe.
30 years of friendship and 30 years of fun, lovely meals, gallivanting all over the cities and around the country for concerts and theatre, shopping. We did it all. We had so much fun. One night in particular, travelling out late, it was after work on a Friday, I believe, we were driving to Edmonton for a concert and decided we'd overnight in Lloydminster. Oh my goodness. Of course, we popped into the bar and lo and behold, it was karaoke night. And without much persuasion, we got Holly, I got her up there on the stage and she was belting out the songs. And she was wearing these silly little white short shorts with pink pigs all over them. And then when she sang Rod Stewart's Hot Legs, well, that was a winner. And I can never hear that song that I don't think of that night and the fun.
What struck me, though, in thinking about this was that somehow she established a really deep connection. And we never talked about it, but it was just very profound, and it was there. And I don't know when it started. And like I said, I unfortunately remember very well the last time I saw her, when we were in the brewery, what was it called again? The Craft Brewery place, in Yaletown. It's etched in my mind. But you know, this connection that she somehow established with us and with me, you know, it hasn't been broken. You know, her passing hasn't severed that bond. In fact, if anything, it's made it stronger, and it's a great comfort to me that, you know, that there was a strange connection, and I can't explain it. Even though I was relatively a newcomer in her life, it's very deep.
When I first met Holly, I have to admit I wasn't quite sure if I was going to like her. Little bit prickly on the exterior at first, and of course throughout the band days we knew that, you know, up until that point in Tom's life, you know, don't get attached to whoever he brings home. So, you know, given that, but I have to admit, we soon, Holly and I soon found common ground in the fact that we both like to make fun of Tom, which really isn't that what binds us all together. But it's funny because over the years, though, she became, you know, quite a good friend, and especially of late for me, as well, last fall I was diagnosed with an incurable cancer of my own, and Holly was right in there, like a dirty shirt, with support and advice and what to expect and how to handle it, because, you know, in my mind I'm freaking out, and Holly's like, hang on, I've been there, we'll get you through this. And it I mean, that meant so much to have someone, you know, who'd been there and got the t-shirt telling you, you know, this will be okay, and if this happens, don't worry, that's normal, don't freak out, look at me, look at how I'm doing, loving life, you'll be fine. And that I really can't put into words what that meant to have her on my side. And even though the last time I saw her, last fall when I was out here, again, first thing on her mind is, how you doing, how you coping, how you making out, you know, I'm with you, you'll get through this. And I guess I can only hope that I thanked her enough for, you know, lending me some of her strength and which she had in abundance. And so she gave some of that to me, and I hope she knew how much it meant to have her on my side.
Leslie and Holly came round for tea in February, and of all the things that Holly ever gathered around, tea wasn't one of them. So tea quickly turned into after tea drinks, and we had a few drinks, and then Paul came home from work, and then we called you, and you came over. And that evening, do you remember, we were singing and then dancing, just Leslie, Holly and I danced and sang, and it felt like such a special evening, and it really felt like we were living in that moment.
Well, it was a special evening actually, because that was the last time I saw her.
Mm-hmm.
And that was such a great memory. I can still see her sitting on that red chair and then getting up and dancing, and the music was playing, and none of us had even a vague inkling of what was going to happen the next couple of weeks.
I think of some of the physical characteristics that she had. That leg would get, you'd be talking to her and that leg would get going the more she talked. Her leg would get swinging. I often think of that. I'd wait, we'd be talking about something, and the more impassioned she got about something, the more that leg would get swinging. I think of that so often. Even today, driving here to see you, I thought of that. The way she'd run her hands through her hair, she'd get talking, and again, her hair. The more impassioned she got about a subject, the more that hand would be going through her hair. I love the way she always had her chin up. She'd walk like this. And I always thought of it as it's like she was looking for the next adventure.
Both Holly and I were very fortunate in that we had Tom to lean on and to learn from. In my case, when Margaret got diagnosed, Tom gave me just one piece of advice, but it was profound, and I've tried to live it ever since. And that piece of advice was, try to be the perfect husband every day. And if you think that's easy, try being agreeable all the time. I find it very difficult, but I'm working very hard at it. And I thank Tom for that kind of advice and support.
I would say thanks for yet another slap in the face of how important life is and how beautiful my family is, and for always living life to the fullest.
She was such a good example for the way I think we all should live our life. There are people in our lives that, when we meet individuals throughout this journey we call life, they make an imprint on your mind. But Holly was one of those very rare individuals that made an imprint on your heart. And for that, I'm forever grateful.
She never wallowed in what happened to her. She didn't waste a moment. And I think that's her legacy. And that's the biggest lesson that I learned from Holly, was that you had to grab life and take every moment you got. And I think that she did it with such grace, and she took us along with her in that journey, and I always appreciated that. And I think that's what makes this even harder, is that I really started to believe that she was gonna kick this. And she was a fighter. She was smart, funny, kind, and she made you laugh. And for me, that was always the best part.
Here's to someone who lived life with ferocity, she was the kind of person that sort of attacked everything in life with an intent to capture it. You know, whether it was a photograph or an experience or a meal or a friendship or a place she'd never visited or right here in her own neighborhood. Holly was, she was on the prowl for things. She was always looking for something new and something appetizing. And I'd say, you know, here's to you for being fierce, for being a fierce competitor, for being a fierce Canadian, for just being a person who wanted to capture life.
Living life, and I think that's what I would toast. I would toast her zest for life, but also, you know, I'm just going to get through this. I'm going to live as best as I can for the amount of time that I have, and I'm not going to let that disease, you know, defeat me in the least.
I just want to say cheers, Holly. I am a better person for knowing you. Salud.
To a lovely woman who shared part of my life, I guess. Yeah, a great friend.
My relationship with Holly started professionally, but it shifted quickly into something quite personal when something quite tragic happened to me 5 years ago. And of course, something quite tragic with her happened right before that. And so her and I were in a position where we could support each other. And, you know, I saw her in a professional light for so many years, and it wasn't until then that I realized how much of a heart Holly has. You know, at work, you got to be really tough. You have to stand up and be ballsy. But in life, Holly was such a sweetheart. She had so much love. And maybe the worst thing in life had to happen to both of us to realize a new friendship had formed. Because you don't meet very many people like Holly, I realized, having seen both lights. And I appreciate her even more, knowing her professionally first, and then we became such close friends. It was always important for me to impress her professionally, but when we were supporting each other, that all just kind of goes away. So if I were to toast you, Holly, it would to say, thank you for showing me your beautiful heart. And I hope that I, like you, live every day to the fullest, because you've taught me that in the last few years. And I really appreciate it. I've never loved life more, and you're a big part of that, and the reason why.